I just finished my first song. It's not my first song that I've ever made on a digital audio workspace, but it is definitely the first one I've made in a long time. It is a lo-fi song. I think I want to focus on making lo-fi and just sticking to one genre at the beginning, because I really like lo-fi, and also it just really fits the vibes of what's going on outside. As you can see, just a snowy day in Massachusetts, and it's just the perfect weather for lo-fi. But before we do, somebody's gotta put their jammies on. Looking cute, bud. Alright, so welcome to Cubase. I'm using Cubase Artist 10.5, and I'm gonna walk you through instrument by instrument and job by job, because every instrument kind of has a job. So first we just have the bare bones drums without any sound effects or any extra stuff, and we just start out with this hi-hat, because I found I was coming in too soon with the full drums. And I also added some other effects to these drums. So it doesn't really sound like very much by itself at all, but then we'll play them all together. So it just kind of adds some extra texture to the drums there, and I kind of liked it. That was one part I was just kind of experimenting with, because I saw some other lo-fi folk who were just kind of adding stuff right on top of the snare or right on top of the hi-hat, or like this fork sound that we got, like two forks. Next we have the basic chord progression. I just used these chord pads down here to kind of experiment with different chord progressions. That way, because I'm not the best keyboard player, so I kind of chose which ones I wanted for each scale degree, and then I could kind of play around with which ones I liked, and this is what I came up with here. And that's the whole progression. In the slow section over here, I used the same chord progression. It's exactly the same, except I slowed it down, so it took twice the amount of time to play, and I put a different synth behind it, so it just sounds slightly different. And then really the only other thing I did with the same exact chord progression is I just kind of changed the rhythm, so it was like doom da, doom da, doom da, doom da, doom da. Just because you need some variation. Then we have the melody by itself. I just did the same thing basically over here, except I just changed the rhythms a little bit. Just kind of sounds more bouncy and more upbeat towards the end of the song, so I liked it that way. I just went with a really simple bass line. I didn't feel like making it too overcomplicated. It just outlines the chords. And that's it. That was enough for me. And then we kind of have some background noise that I just kind of use to keep it fresh, because this first time we come through, it's all new. It's a new chord progression. By the time we get here, it's a new melody, and then by the time we get here, if I don't add something new, it's gonna get boring. So I added a mandolin and a choir. One of the things I chose to do here was let these notes overlap so that they kind of sat on top of each other, so you get that resonance and it sounds kind of crunchy, and I like that. See, it sounds kind of like really crunchy. Then we get this section, I don't really know what to call it. It's the yellow section. It's like the soft section in between. One of the weakest parts about this song is that it really doesn't have much of a structure at all. This is kind of like a chorus, I guess I'd say. And this is the same chorus, but it sounds slightly different. And so I don't know what to call this section. Like, is it a verse, or is it a B part, or I don't know. It's a soft little interlude, I guess we can call it. I downloaded this free Spitfire audio, it's called Labs, and you can get so many different free things on here. I mean, this whole thing was free, and I made pretty much half of the song with this Labs plugin. And I found this Christmas pack on there that has like so many bell sounds. I just loved the idea of like having bells in this part. I wanted to recreate this kind of like shooting star sound, or just like twinkly star sound. I got bells here, chimes. I have a mark tree, which is that thing that goes that thing. Then I got this thing called crunchy ambience. It's just kind of like a really nice pad that has these weird sounds in the background. Again, I did that thing where I just kind of let them stack on top of each other, so it got like a nice thick sound. Another track here called Ghost Bells that I really like. Got a vibraphone, and it just plays a bunch of different random like octaves of the same note. I thought it sounded cool. Kind of sounds lame by itself. I kind of had this issue with this part where with all of these things going, it didn't really feel like it had any tempo to it, and so when it built up to this new second chorus section, it kind of felt like I didn't have any momentum behind it because there was no beat. It was just kind of all these really soft chords and like random bell sounds. I thought a good way to bring in some tempo back into it was to use this muted triangle sound. And then more as time goes on. And then that kind of builds up, and by the time you get to the end, it's like chugga 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 chugga, and it brings you right into the next section. Perhaps one of my favorite parts is the arpeggiated bells that I added here. You can see I just started with like the simple like arpeggio. Do. But then by the time it gets to the end, I just kind of like made it go like really fast, as if you're just playing like all of these really bright notes. I think it like builds up so nice, like digga 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 ding. We had that, and then this chime part I thought was just easy, but I remember being in symphonic band in high school, and I was percussion in high school, so when I got to play the chimes, like I love playing the chimes. You feel so epic when you play the chimes. It feels like you're welcoming home an army who like just won a war, and you're like celebrating their arrival, or like Santa Claus coming back after delivering all the presents, and it was a successful Christmas. I don't know. You just feel like, because you have to play it like this. Boom, 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 boom. So this is what it sounds like. And so you get this whole build up here at the very end. I just really wanted it to have a lot of freaking bell sounds. And then we have these really lame crash noises here, but, you know, I'm not really that into sound design just yet. I don't like that transition between the two. I just want it to sound like a big swell, you know, but whatever. I really don't care. It's good enough for now. And then all of these different ambience tracks at the bottom. We have these people talking. It's kind of like a city. And then we have these little birdies in the background. And then that switches off between these other backyard noises because I just didn't want the same backyard noises playing the entire time. I made this walking here because I thought it kind of reminded me of just walking through the forest on a nice day, and you know, the light kind of comes through the trees and stuff like that. So I added these walking noises. Just to like make you subconsciously think like, I'm in the forest, you know. These little parts here in the very beginning I added because it sounded kind of boring in here without these. It kind of kept it a little bit more interesting until it got to the melody part. The biggest thing I think I did in the second part that I really liked is switch up the drums. So this whole thing in the first half, like the drum loop is the exact same, but when you get to the second half, I go from these, but then you get over here to these, just to pick up the pace and kind of go with that bouncy feel again. And I just kind of added some fills in there. Like this one is probably my favorite. And then we also have this fill. I like this one too. And then just at the very end of the song, I kind of changed up the feel just to have like a straight, just to let you know like the end of the song is kind of coming up. Now I'm just gonna play through the whole thing and give some commentary as we go through. So that's the ghost bell sound. like about the track is like I don't like that there are so many parts. It feels kind of complicated for a lo-fi song, but I was really just playing around with, you know, all the different things I could possibly do. Also, as far as the mixing goes, like, I don't know, it sounds weird. It sounds good in my headphones here, but then when I play it on my cell phone, it doesn't sound as good. So the next go around, I'm gonna have to do some research on how to actually mix this so that it sounds good, you know, on your computer, on computer speakers, on car speakers, on cell phone speakers. Another thing that I'm gonna work on in the future is the structure and the actual arrangement of the songs. I don't really like that the song doesn't have a structure, but ultimately I think it sounds okay. Like, it sounds like music. It kind of makes you bob your head a little bit. I spent about 10 hours on this song. I hope to not spend as much time on a single song in the very beginning anymore, but a lot of this was just learning Cubase, and a lot of it too was just experimenting. I had fun with it and I learned a lot. I have a lot left to learn. The biggest way, if you want to support, is you can add this song to a playlist. You can find the YouTube video up here. You can also add it to a Spotify playlist. That helps a lot. Or you can share it with your friends, but honestly, like, who shares YouTube videos anymore? Do people actually do that? I don't know. Awesome. Well, thanks for watching. I will see you next time.